Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Aspen Uprooted. We are so glad you could tune in today for this special episode. We have Dawn Galloway with us today from the Abbott House, a nonprofit organization here in South Dakota. They've recently expanded to the Rapid City area, so we're excited to visit with her and find out about what the Abbott House is doing for the Rapid City community. Thank you for being on, Dawn.
Thanks for being on,
Thanks
Dawn.
for having me.
Nice to see you again. So tell us maybe we can start with just telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, how you got employed by the Abbott House, all that fun stuff.
Sure. I grew up in South Carolina, so when I moved to South Dakota in '08, bit of a shock weather-wise. But my background is originally in education. I know if you've heard teaching is getting harder. We'll just put it that way. Every day it gets harder and harder. So bless our teachers who are still in education. But I taught for 11 years, and I knew I always had a passion for working with kids, for advocating with kids. So when I decided to leave education, I wanted to still do something that would lead me in that direction. So I found Abbott House. We're a nonprofit based out of Mitchell. We have a psychiatric treatment facility there, and then we own and operate 10 foster homes throughout the state. 4 of those are here in Rapid.
Very cool. What's your current role at the Abbott House?
Yeah, so it's a long title. I'm donor engagement and events coordinator. So I do a lot of our social media and marketing. I get out there and meet with donors, and then I'm in charge of our events that we have throughout the year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a fun position.
Yeah.
DOEC. I like it.
I like it.
You got to shorten it up
Shorten
for
it.
those business cards, otherwise they end up not fitting in your wallet because they're too long.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about Abbott House. You mentioned a little bit of what they're doing. So how did Abbott House get started? What's the mission, vision, purpose, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so we just celebrated our 85th anniversary. We've been around since 1939. Started off as a place where, people who couldn't afford to take care of their children any longer could leave them with Abbott House. It was during the Great Depression, so there were a lot of families who were in that position. And we've just, evolved into what we are today. So we care for girls in Mitchell who have backgrounds of severe trauma, abuse, neglect. We offer therapies and different sessions with our counselors. We offer EMDR, we offer neurotherapy or neurofeedback therapy. And then in our foster homes, those are therapeutic foster homes. So our parents are trained to work with kids who have backgrounds of trauma, and there's a lot of support there. We have supervisors who check in on the houses, the kids, the parents. So
Sure.
yeah.
So you mentioned that it started back in 1939. So some of the things that were going on back then, you mentioned the Great Depression. I think World War II would have just been starting to ramp up back then. So compared to back then, what are some of the challenges that you see that youth are facing today that is kind of unique to our time?
Oh gosh, we see kids who just have come from abuse and neglect. They have substance abuse problems, suicidal thoughts. We have a suicide wing in Mitchell, and these kids just need support. They need a place to go where they can kind of get that second chance at a childhood, and that's what we provide, a second chance at life.
Yeah. Do you think social media has any sort of impact on young people's mental health?
Oh, absolutely. And that's not, strictly just to our kids at Abbott House. I have an 11-year-old, and he loves social media, and that's a problem. I'm terrified, with the kinds about the kinds of people that, are out there that they could interact with. So yeah, there's a lot of bullying online. I saw that as a teacher. So
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I know even like just in case of when people go online and they see the kind of lives that others are leading and they can compare it to their own, sometimes that makes young people feel a little like they're less than because they're not going on all the trips that the people on social media get to go on. So a lot of times they can compare themselves and feel not very good about themselves.
Yeah.
I look at Miles, Instagram page, I see all the the vehicles that you buy, and I'm like, man, what I would give to be able to do that, Miles.
Comparison
Yeah.
is the thief of joy.
Yes, that is a good. That's a good one. Write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My vehicles are always for sale, Dan. You can have any one you want.
That's very true. Yep.
Well, we talked about just the long history of the Abbott House, but you mentioned something interesting with neurotherapy. How is technology playing a role in the treatment that you're providing to your foster children and even to the parents with training and things like that?
Yeah, we're one of the few places that offers neurofeedback therapy. And I'm no expert, but from what I've been told by our therapists is that the kids wear a cap and they have sensors, and it's really monitoring their brain waves. And so neurofeedback therapy just kind of regulates their brain activity so they're not in that constant fight or flight mode. So it's pretty neat. I've watched a session. Our girls will sit and watch a movie with the cap on, and then there's a technician in the back who's reading all the brain waves, and it's way out of my league, but it looks interesting, and we've seen a lot of success with it too.
Sure. Do you have a success story that you can share from someone that you made an impact, or you saw how Abbott House impacted their life?
Yeah, so there is a young lady who recently graduated high school. She was in our foster homes here in Rapid City. And when she came to us, she was, behind in her credits at school. She had a ton of absences. She was on the verge of dropping out. And when she got to Abbott House, her foster parents really worked with her, and her caseworkers really worked with her to get those credits back up, get her attendance going. She has now graduated, and she is at Black Hills State University, first person in her immediate family to go to college. And if you ask her, she will tell you that is not something that she thought would happen a few years ago. And she has come and spoken at some of our events. She's a wonderful, wonderful girl. I think she wants to major in like poli-sci or something along those lines. She was in debate when she was here in high school, so she's a really wonderful speaker. And just, I look at her and how proud she is of herself, and I just am happy to know that I work for an organization that had something to do with that. you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. That experience kind of illustrates. So I was on your guys' website, and you had a section that talked about your different approaches to care. What you just talked about, that empowering them, that's pretty powerful, that they can endure all that trauma, maybe think they're not worth very much, but you can empower them so that they can do things that they never thought
Yeah.
that was
You know,
possible.
yeah, they need to realize that what happened is not their fault.
Yeah.
So it's all about building connection and relationships, and like you said, empowering them to make some decisions on their own that will work positively for them in their future.
Well, we're not going to quiz you too much, but I know you mentioned you had quite a few facilities, both East River and here. How many children, young adults, do you think Abbott House is able to help maybe at one time and then over the course of the year since inception, if you know any of those numbers?
I do. So we have 121 spots that we have available for kids. 45 in our residential treatment center, and then each foster home can house up to 6 kids. So we've got our ILP apartments, which is independent living for kids who have transitioned out of foster care but aren't quite ready to be on their own. So we've got 4 of those apartments here, so 8 kids. We've got the capacity to treat 32 kids in Rapid City.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And we're looking to expand, so.
Well, that's pretty cool that even after they reach that age where they're technically adults, that you guys don't just release them and, out to just kind of try to survive on their own. You still help them, you still give them that support.
Yeah, I know when I was 18, I didn't feel ready to be on my own, and I had a support system, so I can't imagine these children, just being done at the age of 18. So yeah, we provide apartments. They have a roommate. We teach them how to cook and clean and do laundry and help them secure a job and or go to school if that's what they would like to do. We had never actually had a situation before where we needed to use those apartments for someone going to college. But the young lady I just spoke about, she has a spot in our ILP to come home on weekends and to come back during breaks. So yeah, the support's there, and it's really needed.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Very practical too, I think, because they don't teach a lot of those skills in school anymore. So to know how to cook and clean, to know how to balance a checkbook or manage a checking account, things like that. We have so many young ones that we see through the credit union that they don't know their account number. They don't know what an overdraft fee is or how it works, or they figure, you know, if my card swipes, that means I'm good to go, and then they get themselves in trouble. So it's nice that that practical assistance is being provided and trained at a young age. So we know there's a lot of at-risk youths out in all the communities around the country, so it's nice to have that stepping stone to not view them as a lost cause, but how can we help them, give them a solid foundation, and really help them to become functioning adults in the community.
Yeah. Even that you guys teach them how to cook. I mean, you can find some pretty funny videos online of young people who don't know the stuff you're supposed to do when you have grease fires going, and they do everything wrong. They're flinging it everywhere, pouring water into it, and it's kind of funny when you watch it, but it's also kind of sad because people don't have that skills. So by you guys teaching that, you're setting them up for success.
Well, and speaking of cooking, last year we had Food Network star Justin Warner. He came from his restaurant Bocujo and went to each of our foster homes and taught our kids and ILP kids how to make eggs 5 different ways. It's like the cheapest, most readily available protein. So he taught them French omelet style, scrambled, sunny side up, poached, and even now we still have one of our young ladies, I think she's 9, at one of our foster homes. She still makes French omelets every weekend. So
Awesome. Those connections are pretty cool, because who knows, maybe that will drive one of them to want to be a chef when they get to see that kind of interest shown in them by someone of that talent.
Something else we could talk about that's interesting. Oftentimes, if we're watching TV shows, movies, foster parents are typically cast in a negative light. It's usually parents that are just in it for the money and they have way too many kids and they're not there for the children, but that's certainly not the case with the Abbott House. So your foster parent program's a little different than others. You want to talk about that and how you set parents up for success and really help them through the whole process?
Yeah, so we own our homes. I mentioned each of them can house up to 6 kids each. So it's kind of difficult to find those types of houses here. So we have bought 2 in Rapid that we renovated, and then we built 2 more that have the ILP apartments attached to it. We have 2 supervisors here in Rapid City who are in the homes constantly, who have really great relationships with the kids and the parents. The parents go through a training called TBRI, Trust-Based Relationship Intervention. I always forget the acronym. But, like I mentioned earlier, they are, taught how to interact with these kids who have just so much trauma, who need so much more support than, just any other kid off the street. So we've partnered with Children's Home, and they take classes there. And online. So yeah, there's a wealth of support for our foster families.
And are they able to have other jobs? I think you guys, that's their full-time job, right?
It is. So because we own the homes, we hire the foster parents, pay them a salary, and ideally their full-time job is to parent. One spouse can have a job outside the home, but I mean, when you're managing something with 6 kids, that's a full-time job by itself. So yeah, we've got a food budget. We have cars for the parents. So really, they can just focus on the kids.
Sure.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So if like Miles or someone else out there wanted to help and volunteer, what are some ways that people could volunteer to help out Abbott House?
Yeah, so I would say in the next month or so, we've got Christmas coming up. We have gifts that need to be wrapped. So that's an option. If you've got a group who maybe enjoys to bake cookies or something like that, that's certainly an option. We have some events that you could volunteer with. We've got an annual golf tournament that we're always looking for volunteers for. But if that doesn't resonate with you, go to our website. We've got some options there, and you can submit a question, and we can get back to you. So yeah.
Sure. I don't know why I mentioned you specifically. I think I was just seeing a funny image of you in a chef's hat, volunteering and cooking over there. I think I'd like to see that.
I love to cook.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to cook now?
Oh, anything Italian.
Yeah.
Takes me back to my grandma teaching me Italian in the kitchen, trying to understand her thick accent.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Plus, it's Italian, so you don't measure anything. It's all by taste
You
and
just
feel.
do it from the heart. Yep.
Yep.
Through with the
Yep.
heart. Yep.
Yep, definitely. So getting back to your role, events coordinator and marketing, what events does the Abbott House have? You mentioned a couple there, but what events do we have coming up? What events are you proud of that go on throughout the year? I think you'd mentioned you might have a raffle going on right now, things like that.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on right now. We've got a progressive raffle online. Find the Five of Hearts progressive raffle. So we've got a 52 card deck and then 2 jokers, although one's already been chosen. But that's what we started with. And it's a 50-50 split on the jackpot, which is over 6,000 right now. So if you win a little over 3. And then the other half goes to support Abbott House. So we've got the progressive raffle. You can find that online at our website. And then coming up is Giving Tuesday. So South Dakota Gives kind of has their own day. It's South Dakota Day of Giving. And that's a big one for us. Any donations that we get that day are matched up to $10,000. And those funds will go to Christmas, birthdays, and all the holiday celebrations for the 121 kids that we take care of. And then December 21st, over at the Performing Arts Center, we've got a concert going on. Alex Massa has brought in like 20 different musicians from around the Black Hills. He's a trumpeter. We've got the South Dakota Jazz Orchestra who will be on stage. It's going to be a really great concert. So December 21st, we've got an afternoon show and an evening. And from what I heard from Alex, those tickets are like getting close to being gone. So
Oh, good.
yeah.
That name, Alex Mass, is familiar. I think I might have gone to school with relatives of his at Stevens. I think he might
Did you
have.
get
Possibly.
picked for
Yeah.
this concert? Dan is quite the musician. He's a pianist. He's a jaw harp player. Didgeridoo.
Did you? Yeah. I don't think I'd want to teach the kids at the Abbott House how to like do any of those musical instruments because I have a lot of bad habits that I would pass on to them that they wouldn't want to have. So, yeah.
Didgeridoo, you can
My
pass it around and get
posture
everyone's
when-
saliva on there.
Yeah, my posture when playing piano, I'm hunched over like this. Yeah, they don't need to learn from me. That'd be bad.
He's quite talented, though.
Well,
Sounds like it.
But yes, that's cool that you guys are doing that for them. Yeah, Alex Mass is a very talented musician, so they'll enjoy that. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you send your foster parents through like courses at the Black Hills Children's Home, I think you said. Are there any other nonprofit or local organizations that Abbott House works with, has partnerships with, that allow you to do what you do?
Yeah, so we actually are hoping to get our food truck running in the spring. We've got a pizza food truck run by at-risk youth, so some of our kids, and maybe referred to us from some other organizations. But Fork Real has partnered with us to train the kids how to do food prep and food safety and things like that. We work with the Eagles in Rapid City. They come and help out with a lot of events. A lot of partnerships in Mitchell. We do some equine therapy with the kids, and there's a place out there called Helping with Horsepower that we partner with. They help us with our motorcycle raffle, which we do every other year or so. So yeah, lots of partnerships. We love our community. We love the people who are out there helping other people too. So, yeah.
Okay. Where do you see Abbott House going in the next few years? Are you guys, you mentioned expansion earlier. Are you guys currently building any new homes? Maybe you already mentioned this, but.
We are looking to expand our foster care services. So yes, we're working on getting the food truck up and running, and maybe another social enterprise project in the works. I'm not going to talk about right now, so stay tuned.
Sure.
But yeah, so we've got some other things going on. It's exciting, just ways to, again, get our kids job experience, work experience, things like that, get them back out in the community. So yeah, really exciting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty great what you guys are doing, and we appreciate you coming on and talking to us about it. But if people wanted to volunteer or they wanted to get a hold of Abbott House to participate in the foster program, how could they get a hold of Abbott House to do all of that?
Yeah, so I would say go to our website first, abbotthouse.org. We've got volunteer information on there. Otherwise, I'm going to leave my name and email address with you guys, and you can post it underneath the podcast. Contact me, and I'll set you up.
Nice. And what's your website?
It is abbotthouse.org, or you can email me at Dawn, DAWNG, at abbothousesd.com. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on with us today. We learned a lot about you and the foundation, and we appreciate, like Dan said, so much what you're doing for all the youths in the Rapid City and South Dakota communities. It's certainly a good cause.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you guys will work. Yeah, and I'm sure you guys were going to continue to grow and have that expansion that you want. So,
another 85 years is the goal.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. Well, thank you so much, Dawn.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dawn. And until next time, when we dig up another story from the Grove, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe and share with all of your friends.